Our visual systems don't always perceive images exactly as they appear in objective reality. Don't believe me? Well, for starters, these cars are actually all the same size, and that face isn't exactly what it appears to be. If you were deceived by these illusionary tricks, then you'll be even more amazed by the mind-blowing visual phenomenons coming up in this video, because I'll be showing you 10 optical illusions and explain the theories of why they work.
Amazing!
Number 10. Flashed face distortion effect. So here's just a flickering montage of celebrity faces on either side. You may notice that their faces are positioned so that their eyes are aligned in the middle. Nothing much to it apart from that. However, these rather good looking people change quite considerably when you add this cross in the middle. All you have to do is keep your eyes fixated on this cross. In your periphery vision, you can see that the celebrities look like grotesque monsters once you focus on the cross. It's insane. I swear I even saw Voldemort at one point. Every time you look at the images, they're normal, and then back at the cross, they look horrible. What's this all about? How does this actually work? Well, this phenomenon was actually discovered by mistake by Sean Murphy, an undergraduate student, and although there are multiple theories flying about, there is little evidence to back any of them up, because this is a relatively recent discovery. I reckon it's something to do with our brains merging the features of the celebrities that appear, but that's only my opinion. But what do you think? Number 9. Boy or girl? On the left there's a picture of a girl, and on the right there's a picture of a boy, or so it seems. Believe it or not, this is actually the same picture, and was created by Gettysburg College in a published study on why cosmetics work. Essentially, researchers found that there's more depth to facial differences between men and women than often presumed. This picture was created by increasing the contrast of the androgynous facial image, while the other was created by decreasing the contrast. The face with more contrast is perceived as female, while the face with less contrast is perceived as male. This demonstrates that contrast is an important cue for perceiving the sex of a face. Can you see the difference? Number 8. Static motion. This is a trippy one, and it's not actually an animated video. This image really is static, guys. Notice when you look at any individual point dead on, it will stop moving. This powerful illusion is derived from interacting color contrasts and shape positions within the image. Keep moving your eyes around this image, and it will appear to be moving, almost as if each of the 3 tube-like images are rolling. Number 7. Am's room. With this one, it looks as if there are 2 humans facing each other in a room. The room looks kind of slanted, and the man on the right is a giant compared to the woman on the left. I can assure you though that the man isn't actually a giant, and the woman isn't a dwarf. Now I'm going to play the clip and just watch what happens. So the ball is being thrown between each of them, and it clearly looks to be changing size. Then they just casually walk past each other, and they also change size. What's that all about? Basically, this visual illusion occurs because the room actually gets smaller when you move to the right. It's called the amaze room, and is basically a grotesquely deformed trapezoidal room, which looks completely normal from the front perspective, as the walls look parallel and everything seems fine. The reason this works though is that the brain has a built-in assumption that the walls of rooms are usually parallel, and this is something we've grown up with all our lives, and this assumption is so strong that it completely overrides the fact that the people are actually changing sizes, even though in the real world, obviously people don't change sizes. Here, you're just willing to see that because the assumption of parallel walls is much stronger. Number 6. Headache-inducing spiral illusion. The name I've given to this one is accurate. Look at this formation, and what do you think's going on? Well, to me, it looks like there's some sort of spiral leading out to the outside. But if you actually look closely at each circle, you can see that this isn't what's happening. They don't actually form a coil at all. All it actually is circle after circle expanding from the middle. It's quite crazy. If you still can't see it, then I'll add these lines, and you'll see that you were just going crazy all along. This one is technically called the intertwining illusion, and technically works because it harnesses the shift between what the eyes see and what the brain perceives. Effectively, the peripheries of our vision cannot accurately keep track of all the visual details, and so our visual system makes some errors. Research by Mark Changizi, an evolutionary anthropologist, argues that it's the tilted black and white squares that throws off our periphery vision. Simply put, the fact that the black squares in one ring are offset when compared to the black squares in another ring creates the perception of a spiral. The exact same is true with the adjacent white rings. Additionally, it's thought that our brains want to perceive this image as a 3D scene rather than the 2D image. In other words, your brain probably thinks this is a tunnel receding into the distance, lined with two oppositely twisting candy cane-like stripes. Sorry guys, our brain apparently can't help us much here. Number 5. Checker Shadow Illusion. Look at the two checkered areas A and B. Firstly, I'm sure you'll agree that the area labelled A appears to be much darker in colour than the area labelled as B. But that's pretty obvious though, isn't it? Well, not entirely. Actually, within the context of the two-dimensional image, both of these squares are of identical brightness. In other words, they are displayed on your screen with pixels of identical colour. Let that just soak in for a minute, and try to stare back at it to see if you can notice this. Chances are you still won't be able to tell unless I introduce this rectangle of the same colour to connect the two images. Here you can see that it blends in perfectly. I'll also add in this cutout mini zoomed in picture to remove some of the context if you're still struggling. So how does this one work? It all has to do with that conveniently placed cylinder in the corner. That cylinder object is casting a shadow onto the board, and this is enough to trick our visual system yet again. In this figure, the light check within the shadow is surrounded by darker checks. Thus, even though the check is physically dark, it is light when compared to its neighbours. The dark check outside of the shadow, conversely, is surrounded by lighter checks, so they look dark in comparison. It also works because an underlying trick of our visual system relates to the fact that we tend to ignore gradual changes in light levels. Number 4. The Lilac Chaser. This one is called the Pac-Man illusion, for a rather obvious reason you're going to see soon. Stare at this central cross, and you'll notice 3 amazing illusions. First, do you notice that this image appears to be in continuous motion? This is called the phi phenomenon. Nothing you see here is moving, yet the rapid succession of blinking lilac dots makes it appear as if it is. Now concentrate back at the center again. Do you notice a second green disc appearing? This second illusion is called an after image and results when your eyes have adapted to the presence of each disc. After your eyes have been exposed, you tend to see an opposite complementary colour, in this case green, after each lilac disc vanishes. So now the final illusion. Have another good long stare at the center. Do you notice that the pink discs at the end seem to be disappearing after a while, leaving only the green disc to run in circular course alone? This third illusion is known as Troxler's fading and occurs when the unchanging discs are deemed unimportant by your brain and therefore ignored. Finally, what do you think would happen if we changed the disc colour? If we change its colour to blue, for example, you can see that the gap colour also changes, this time to yellow. Number 3. Motion-induced blindness. Look at this still image. All there appears to be are 3 yellow dots and a green dot in the middle. Behind these points appear to be a blue grid. I'm going to play the illusion now, but before I do, I want you to focus on that green dot right in the middle. Okay, so here it goes. As you stare, you're probably seeing the yellow dots in your periphery vision disappear rather erratically. As one vanishes, another one may reappear, only for another to go away again. Sometimes you'll see 2 or 3 of the dots fading and re-emerging together. These disappearances and reappearances continue at random for as long as you stay focused on the blinking light. What's bizarre with this one is that none of them are actually vanishing. Recalibrate your vision at a yellow dot, and they're always visible. Your brain is what's making them disappear. It's downright impossible to train your brain to keep all of the yellow dots in the picture. You just can't do it. This mind trick, called motion-induced blindness, has no universally accepted explanation, but research suggests that it arises in the primary visual cortex of our brain. That's the part processing information about static and moving objects. Number 2. Spinning dancer. This one is super confusing, and you could be here for days trying to figure it out. This image is a still of an animation of a pirouetting female dancer that I'll play in a bit, but before I do, I want you to get ready to comment on which direction she spins. Does the dancer move clockwise or counterclockwise? I'll be interested in seeing what most of you guys think. I'm convinced she's definitely moving clockwise, but after staring at it for ages, she started moving the other way. If you're stuck trying to visualize her moving the other way like I was, then these graphics may help. After watching these, you might then find it hard to see her moving in the original way again. This illusion is known as a silhouette illusion, and this particular one was created in 2003 by web designer Nobuyuki Kayahara, it basically derives from the lack of visual cues for depth. For instance, as the dancer's arms move from left to right, it's possible to view her arms passing between her body and the foreground, but it's also possible to imagine her arms as passing behind her body. Number 1. Negative image illusion. This bizarre optical illusion test really works for most people and will surely add some good quality wrinkles to that old brain of yours. Just stare at the dot on the nose of this negative image of a woman here for about 20 seconds. Get nice and close to the screen. Yeah, it might look a bit odd like you're trying to kiss the screen, but trust me, just get really close to the screen and keep looking at this image. Keep your eyes fixated on it. I'm going to give you some time to absorb the image before removing it. So just keep staring and even pause if necessary. Okay, now once you're done, I just want you to look somewhere, preferably some white areas if you're looking at wallpaper or something around you, and the image should magically appear in full colour. If you keep blinking, the effect intensifies. This trick basically works by taking advantage of an effect in your retina known as after image, something that also worked on the Lilac Chaser. Staring at a false colour image like this desensitizes the cone cells in the retina to these colours for a short period once you look away. What that jiggly pink stuff in your head has just done is process the negative image. Now that's pretty damn sweet. There's loads of these and you can make them yourself, but this one is my favourite. There are loads more optical illusions out there. Another quick one you can try can be experienced right here on YouTube. If you click that like button down below, it will actually change colour. This only happens if you click the subscribe button simultaneously though, so give it a try. Alright, so it's not actually an illusion, but if you can take the time to drop a like and subscribe, then it's much appreciated. If you want more videos like this, then spam the comments asking us, and we might just make another video with more amazing illusions we've come across.